And welcome back to the channel. And in today's video I'm going to be taking you to the summer solstice in West Sussex, 21st of June 2023. So if you're new to the channel, if I could ask you just to hit the subscribe button when convenient. It does help me to share my material with the rest of YouTube. It's free of charge. If you're an existing subscriber, really do appreciate your support. So let's get into the video. So I parked up in the car park right here at High Down and started my way up to the top of the hill. Surprised at actually how busy the car park was. It was a Wednesday night at 8:30, and albeit it is a worldwide phenomenon, the summer solstice, I was surprised at how popular it was. I pretty much got the last space in the car park, so probably a little bit late to the event. The plan for the evening was that the Morris men were going to gather at the Spotted Cow in Amring on the other side of this hill, and then they were going to procession up to the top of the hill. So I didn't think it would be quite so busy on this side, but it felt very magical with all the other people making almost like a pilgrimage to the Hillfort at the top of High Down. You can tell how popular this area is by the number of benches dedicated to people who have passed away, who love this area. There we go, just 4 of them here in a row, and another one there. So this is the tomb of John Oliver. I'm guessing the council put the fencing up just to stop people climbing up on it. And this tree that used to be here had actually been obviously died and had been carved into a small seat, but as you can see, the ravages of time have taken the rotting tree stump away as well. The tale of John Miller. John Miller is a strange story. John Oliver was an eccentric and one of the most colourful characters in this part of Sussex. Some say he was a rogue, a joker, and others just plain crazy. Whatever he was in life, in death he created a legend. John Oliver died on 22 April 1793 at the age of 84. He was a prosperous miller, working his mill here above Worthing and living in a cottage further down the slope. Strangely, some 27 years before his death, John Oliver had his tomb erected on this site. Land then owned by William Westbrook Richardson. It is reported that in his later years he spent many hours in a small wooden shack that he built at the head of his tomb. One fact that seems to verify his eccentricity. As his tomb was being erected, he also had his coffin made. This he kept under his bed until he was laid to rest at this isolated spot. Let's make our way further up the hill. As I said, we've just got to pass through this copse of trees. Now the plaque back there tells you a little bit about John Oliver, but if you wanted to know more, Worthing Museum used to have an exhibition and they own a lot of John Oliver's possessions. I did plan on making a separate video about John Oliver, but with the display going back into storage, wasn't much to show. But there's more information in Worthing Museum. Basically, where his tomb was he built a small hut, and apparently he lived in that hut for some time before his death. There was speculation that he was using that hut to store smuggled goods, and he was using the sails of his mill to signal the smugglers when to come in and things like that. Upon his death, there was, like tonight's ceremony, and he had I think it was young girls or virgins or something like that, dressed in white, carry his coffin, if I remember rightly, and used to tell you on that plaque back there, but he is buried upside down, and the theory was for him that when the world turned upside down, he would be the right way up. So we've got a little National Trust sign here telling us a little bit about the place. So High Down is a site of archaeological importance. Evidence of Bronze Age, Iron Age, Roman and Anglo-Saxon occupation has been found here, as well as some of the earliest Anglo-Saxon burial sites in England. The earliest permanent settlement on High Down Hill was a late Bronze Age, about 1000 BC enclosure. During the early Iron Age, about 600 BC, full advantage was taken of the strategic position of High Down when a hill fort was constructed consisting of an earthwork with rampart and ditch. The site was also subsequently used as an Anglo-Saxon cemetery from about 450 AD. An unusual number of glass objects was found at this site. These and many other finds can now be found in Worthing Museum. So High Down Hill is 266 feet above sea level and is supposedly the burial site for Saxon kings. And I think this all goes back to the fact that there used to be, or is, a Anglo-Saxon burial site up here. So it was also the site of a battle up here, yeah, I think the warriors' bodies were buried where they were fallen on the battle site. So quite a lot of history. So just as we get here, you can see the outer ring of the hill fort. Now, interesting that we've come to see a summer solstice here, because the other place that you go to see a summer solstice would be Stonehenge. And the henge part of Stonehenge refers to this type of embankment. So you do see it when you watch films about Stonehenge, but Stonehenge has this type of banking surrounding the monument. So it's a kind of hill fort. Now, the word henge denotes the banking and the ditch. When you listen to people talking about Stonehenge, they say that the ditch on Stonehenge is on the inner side rather than the outer. So as you can see, spectacular views. If you were going to be a smuggler and wanted somewhere to pitch up, this would be a good place to signal people. So on a clear day like today, you can actually see the Isle of Wight. And if we look that way, too much light on the screen here, but over there we can see Seven Sisters. So large swathes of Sussex can be seen from this lookout point. But more importantly, for the ceremony of the summer solstice, we've also got line of sight of Cissbury Ring, Chanctonbury Ring and Harrow Hill. So lots of hill forts can be seen from this one location. So it did surprise me just how many people had turned up for summer solstice. I was expecting a few people, but I thought I was going to be in the minority. When I actually arrived up at the ring, all of this area, I mean, there was probably 300 to 400 people up here. All of these trees were full of children climbing them, and people had taken up seating areas around the central display. So even surprised me that they managed to get a car in here. So not been left in a bad way, as we can see. No rubbish up here, which is great that people have respected it. Evidence of a little fire here, but in the centre of this area here is where the Morris men had marked out where they were going to be carrying out their ceremony. And as time went on, they put a little fire pit right here. It was my first visit to a summer solstice event. Always see the Stonehenge one on TV at dawn, but Midsummer's Eve is, in my opinion, way more important than Midsummer's Dawn. So this is the area that they carried out the Morris dancing in, and as you can see, we've basically got a ring of trees. So some there and some over here. All of these trees were just full of children climbing in the trees, and also people were connecting the trees with hammocks. Not sure whether they were planning to sleep there or whether it was just for somewhere to relax. Certainly was surprised with the quantity of people up here, probably 300-400 people, and they'd brought picnics, barbecues, alcohol, so quite a big gathering, and everyone was in fine spirits for the event. So in this area they formed a circle and to do their Morris dancing in, and even had a car parked in the ring as well, just over in that location. Didn't even know you could get cars up here, to be honest, let alone a Skoda. So have to say well done to everybody, because you wouldn't have you couldn't tell that an event had happened here only a few days ago. There's no rubbish, no litter, and even where the fire was lit, they barely damaged the grass. They brought a bit of steel up here to protect the grass and a cage to put the fire in. But going back hundreds of years ago, none of that would have been done. This is a people's area, and yeah, there would have been fires lit here to celebrate this midpoint in the year. I think what was fascinating about this summer solstice event is seeing all of the Morris people performing, and they must have spent their life practicing these routines for these specific events, and a little bit sad from my perspective, and I can put some of the blame on my shoulders as well, is the fact that every one of the Morris people were of a much older generation, specifically in the female side of it. It just shocked me that there didn't really look like there was anybody else to take over the traditions that we've seen in Sussex for the last few hundred years. There were some younger Morris men, but not actual young Morris men. So a little bit sad, but that goes down to the traditions. The traditions aren't getting passed down through Sussex, and I fear that with the passing of the generations that carried out this summer solstice, will all of those traditions be gone and forgotten. To this side of the hill, we've got evidence of a structure here. This area was used in World War II for gun emplacements, so it could be that that was one of the locations of the gun emplacement. Whatever it is not particularly strong. It's all cracking up. I imagine that's concrete gun emplacement. And then we've got the trig point here. If you're into trig points, that's your number. So looking in this direction, we can see what I only assume is the windmill that we spoke about, John Oliver, the miller. I'm assuming that's his mill, now a private residence. And if we look over in this direction, I would believe that over there is Bignor Hill. So probably can see the trundle, and if we zoom in there, we've got Arundel Castle. So as I got to the ring, in this area here, a lot of people were gathering, and there was a flag for the Morrismen located in this location. And as I said earlier in the video, they were going to be walking from the Spotted Cow, which is off in that direction. And so I couldn't see the Morrismen, so I headed down, and roughly where you can see the mill is down there. There was a sole drummer, and this drummer was drumming as the procession of the Morrismen made their way up to the ring. So when we got back to the ring, the Morrismen had started doing their dancing. This went on for approximately half an hour, and then at 9 o'clock everybody made their way over to this side of the hill fort to watch the sun go down. Nobody told anybody to do it, they just made their way across, and the sun set, I believe it was 9:13 that we saw the sun go down. So for about 15 minutes people stood here just watching the sunset on the other side of the South Downs over there, and when it finally went below the horizon there was a loud cheer from the audience. After that everyone made their way back over to the ceremonial circle, and more music was played and more dancing took place. Everyone was in great spirits. Thank you very much for watching my video. If you have enjoyed it, if you could hit the like and subscribe button, it will help me share my content with other users on YouTube.